What's up, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be showing you my Clay.com workflows and SOPs that I leverage to run my lead generation agency. And so the first thing that you'll notice is that every single client that I have has a folder of their own. And so the first thing that I want to do whenever I onboard a brand new client is creating a client folder. And so this client folder is going to store all of the individual campaigns that we run. And I've just refreshed the page to show you what it looks like in real time. However, we automate this whole process. And so this is my client onboarding process. This is the Smart Lead section. This is the HubSpot section. This is the Clay section, right? And so let's focus on the Clay section. The first thing we want to do is we want to get a Clay token. And the reason for this is because Clay does not have any API documentation at the moment. And so we're doing a workaround to automate our Clay workspace. And so you put your URL right here, you put your email, your password, the source is null, and you're going to be getting a cookie from that. And I'm not going to open this because it does contain some sensitive information. But if we click run this module only, we're going to see the cookie headers that I was just referring to. But the main part that I want you to focus on is this request content session over here, which is called gaming, right? And so when we go back to the Clay session, we've got these folders over here, and the new folder that we're going to be creating is called gaming. And by the way, that would just be replaced for one of our clients, right? Like the client name. And so when we refresh the page, we've got a brand new folder, which is called gaming. This is part of the SOPs, right? Things that you would normally have to do whenever you've hired VAs, they're doing all these things for you. And so we've got the gaming folder, and when I click on this, there's nothing. By the way, if for anyone who's interested, I'll spend 30 seconds explaining what just happened. So when you navigate over to Inspect Element Network over here, there's going to be Effects HR section, and you simply want to do anything, right? So you can actually do anything, right? Let's say I want to duplicate a table, right? So I've got a table over here. I want to duplicate this table. When I duplicate this table, we're going to get a brand new table, and we're going to get all of this information over here. And inside this information, there's going to be key data. And so we're looking for a post module. And so this is a get, this is getting information, right? And so this is how the entire internet works, right? It is basically leveraging APIs and doing things like that. And so we are looking for something that creates a table. Right, right here. So there it is. So duplicate, right? So this is the URL that we would be grabbing, right? We would be grabbing that URL, and we would be pasting that URL in this URL section over here. So just like I've just done right here. And then from here, when we navigate back over here, we would have the request content and the payload information. This is what we would be pasting in this section over here. So if you recall, when we ran this module only, we had name, gaming, icon. This is all coming from the preview over here. So very similar thing. So you can do anything, right? You can do anything with this process. And so let's go back to the SOPs and how those work. So I just created this one. Let's go ahead and delete this. And let's move on. So now we have a client folder. And in this case, it's called gaming. And so the next thing I've got is campaigns, right? So whenever I'm onboarding clients and we're going through the process, one of the steps that we have to go through is creating campaigns. And so I don't create campaigns inside Smart Lead. I create all my campaigns inside ClickUp and then have put them through a task process where the campaigns are then added to Smart Lead. And so one of the sections over here is called Create Email Campaigns. This fires off an automation that looks like this. I've just ran it for one of my new clients. And inside that, we're going to get to choose a playbook, which is going to pre-populate some emails. Like if you read this email, it's not perfect, right? And that's why we've got all of these comments which tell us to modify the campaign copy, right? Also, I have to actually keep working on these playbooks. This is what a playbook looks like for anyone that's curious. It's basically following. So if you were to use a Apollo, right, and you were to For example, put your customer pain points, value proposition, company overview, and then generate a new sequence. Apollo would create an email for you. And the structure of this email is like, hey, first name, Apollo AI personalized opener. And then it's got two large sentences and then a call to action. And so inside a playbook, you would basically describe what just happened there. So the first sentence is Y, the second sentence is Z, whatever, right? And then you would give it an example, and then we would use ChatGPT to try to replicate that. And so what Apollo did is it used the client's information and then created an email from that. And so we're basically trying to do the same thing, but instead of having one similar email over and over and over and over, we got all of these different playbooks that each have different examples, different playbooks, different email structures. We've got that same thing happening for email 2, email 3. And so whenever I see a good email online, just put that here. It's in the news section. And then we go through these steps to then have a playbook that we can use over and over and over and over. This is not easy, right? And like, if you look at the email that we created using the Apollo sequence, this is what it looked like. Oh, this was for another client. I was testing it with another client. But it follows a similar structure, right? Like that Apollo does, but it's not perfect, right? And so at this point, you have to modify it. I'm going off topic. Back to Clay. Back to Clay. So every single campaign is going to have a Clay table. And so as you can see, we've got a column over here called Clay table. Actually, that was probably useful for anyone who's not seen my videos before. And so every single playbook also has a Clay table. And so these are the statuses that I put through every single playbook as we're creating it. The first one is new, which means we just got an email, right? And then the strategy created means that we've taken that email and we've created a playbook for it. And then 3 is a Clay table creation. And so an example of an email would be something like this, right? First name, AI personalized opener. This is going to require us to create a Clay table, right? It's going to require us to create a Clay table that has an enrichment of AI. So AI generate text, and then this is going to be generate first line. And obviously there's some templates that we've got which are like generate first line. And this is an example of a playbook in action with the Clay table. So back to everything again. Every playbook has a Clay table and every campaign has a Clay table. How we organize that inside Clay is in this section over here. So this is template new campaign table. And this is going to be linked back in the table over here. So when I click on this, actually, hold on a second. When I click on this, it's going to take us to, actually, I have not updated the table yet. I think this one is updated though. So this is going to take us to this template, which is called 3 talent ideas. And this is going to have the basic framework of every single playbook and every single campaign. And so let me tell you about that basic framework. So every single campaign, every single playbook, every single thing has a similar structure to this. So we've got name, we merge that. So for example, to explain what's happening here, if we get something that only has a full name, we're going to be using the Clay enrichment to get the first name out of that. And so if full name exists, I'll put the first name. And if the last name exists, sorry, and then from that, we're merging it. And so this is what the merge looks like. So if the first name exists, last name exists, we simply use that. If those don't exist, but the full name exists, we use that. And by the way, why this is relevant is because I recently scraped Apollo using Instant Data Scraper. And doing that scrape, the only thing I get is the full name. And so different databases are going to give you different things. Some databases are going to give you the first name. Some databases are going to give you the last name. And so structuring it like this allows you to not care, right? The data can come from anywhere as long as these fields, either the full name or the first and last name is there, we're going to have a solution for that. And so let's move on from this. The next thing we do is we check for duplicates in this table to see if they exist. If they don't, we find the work email here, check another provider, another provider, another provider, another provider to give ourselves the best chance of finding these emails. And by the way, this is what happens when you don't have SOPs and structures, right? Is that you get a brand new list, you put it in a brand new table, you use one provider, you use one database, and then you add the leads to the campaign. But what about if you want to, for example, something that I like to do with every single contact that I have is I add them to a HubSpot account. Now, the problem with adding it to a HubSpot account in this manner, first of all, you're not always going to have the first name, right? So I had to create a formula field. That takes me a few seconds, right? That's annoying though, right? And then the email, let's say I want to get the email, the look at the field names. The field names are all weird, right? And so I have to find it, I have to hover over every single one of them and then do that. And then if I want to add every single one of these fields, think of how long this stuff takes. It takes so long. And that's why having a template like this is so crucial. And by the way, this is what it looks like inside HubSpot whenever we do it. So everything, regardless of where the data is coming from, we're looking at it. We've already got it. And so how all of this ties back to the campaigns, the playbooks, every single playbook has a every single playbook has a table. And where that table comes from is on this master table. So this master table is going to basically be duplicated. And then once we duplicate this master table, we can create a playbook for it. And in this example, let's go ahead and create this playbook over here. So I simply copy the text of that, and then I write this here, right? So this is a playbook. And by the way, this is automated. So whenever a playbook goes from Clay table created and goes to the active status, we automate the duplication of that table so that it's already created. So we don't have to actually do anything here. And then from here, we've got the Clay table. We go back, boom. Now, this is where you can start to use like AI enrichment. And so you can add like different things that are going to happen in this playbook. And every single Clay table is going to have different things, but the base is going to be the same, right? And so that's the idea. And so from here, the next thing we want to do is we want to create campaigns. And so each campaign is going to have a Clay table. And so from here, once we create a campaign, probably on the generate campaign copy section, actually on one of these other sections, right? Actually, you know what? I think yeah, when we do generate campaign copy, I'm gonna do that. And so we duplicate the template again. So we've already duplicated the master template, and now we duplicate this again. And we're gonna use it for the gaming client. So it says it's duplicating. And then from here, instead of calling it template, we would call this gaming. And 3 ideas, talent recommendations, we can leave it as that, or we can just call it something like this. Actually, we'll just leave it like this because I don't want to spend time doing that. And so now we've got the master playbook duplicated for a specific client. And so when we go back here, now all I need to do is I need to move this over to the gaming client folder, right? So gaming client folder, it doesn't want to go in. It's shot. Oh, there you go. So gaming client folder, now we've got that. And so this is going to help us streamline all of the operations. By the way, this is what I used to do before. I used to have one Clay table that sends it to another Clay table that sends it to another Clay table and have a whole complicated process. This allows us to focus on playbooks and simply inputs the campaign and everything that is associated with that. Hope this was helpful and hope you're having a wonderful day. Cheers!